For everything scary, I'm GMHaunts, and today I'm going to be breaking down the prop blueprints from the Spirit Halloween countdown for Henry Hustle and Mr. Howell. Well, ladies and gentlemen, chaos continues to consume the Halloween community, I guess. After a couple days ago, about 2 or 3 days ago, Spirit Halloween put out the very creepy, very rusty, very mysterious countdown for about 35 days by the time it released, counting down to what possibly is the reveal of the 2021 themes. There was a sticky note saying that the factory was coming to Spirit Halloween locations. Later that day, a buddy of mine, Aiden K, who we should definitely go check out, discovered that the logo for the Halloween factory, presumably what the name of the theme for this year actually is, the IAC, the logo for it was underneath the whole graphic of the countdown. Then people began to dig more into the countdown graphics, the blueprints, the names, everything you could see, and it's really getting dug up, and more and more videos are coming out of it every day. And I wanted to do a video discussing more in depth of the animatronics that you could see in the countdown, specifically Henry Hustle and Mr. Howell, because I only touched on both of them in my video discussing all of the news, which you should definitely go check out that video if you haven't already. But I only really touched on the animatronics, and I wanted to do a video discussing all of it and discussing all the animatronics, their official names, and then I put together some images of their full bodies based off the blueprints, so you can kind of get an idea of what Mr. Howell and Henry Hustle will end up looking like when they actually get released. So without further ado, let's take a look at the official blueprint for Henry Hustle. So shortly after the countdown ended up getting released a couple days ago, people started searching and digging into the graphics and everything. There was the reveal that the clown animatronic that I was talking about in my original video, that you could see the cards, the graphics of the cards, and that you could see the top of his body holding the cards. It was revealed that his name is Henry Hustle, based off what one of the blueprints said in the corner, similar to where we could see the name for Mr. Howell. So after this got released, people began to look deeper into Henry Hustle, look at all the different drawings you could see of him in the countdown graphic, and I wanted to create a full graphic of an entire body by piecing together all the different body parts that you could find in the graphic. Well, I completed 2 different versions of these designs, taking all the pieces you could see of him. I put them together and I created a full body graphic, and I will be showing them on the screen kind of as I'm talking here. So as you can see, Henry Hustle is a brand new clown who is holding a set of cards in his one hand, kind of on his chest, and then he has another set of cards that he's holding in the air kind of by his head. Now, there's a lot of discussions about what Henry Hustle, what his animation could be, and one of the things that maybe could be giving us a hint to what his animation is his top hat, or just his regular hat, if you want to call it that. If you take a look closer, you can actually see that Henry Hustle is wearing another clown's head on his hat. Now, basically, what you can see here is that Henry Hustle has a kind of demon, sharp teeth looking face, but then on his head, he's wearing the clown ruffles of another clown, and then there's another clown's head, and then that clown is wearing a hat on top of that. So it's kind of like a Russian doll kind of thing here, where it's like his head and another clown with him holding a hat. So there has been some speculation on what his animation will be. Now, after the thing got out where you could see that Henry Hustle actually had another clown on his head, people started to wonder if maybe it's possible that Henry Hustle will have a similar peekaboo penny motion, where his head will, the nice head, will actually pop up and reveal the demon head, which will kind of be a little bit of a pop scare, because the one that is on top of his head is actually a friendly clown, and he kind of has a smile, but then there is some kind of predictions on if that will pop up and then reveal that demon face. That is very, very cool. Now, another thing people are talking about is if Henry Hustle, who he'll be manufactured by. Now, obviously, there's the discussions of will he be manufactured by SBI, because SBI manufactures a lot of Spirit Halloween clowns, but honestly, I have some reasons to differ from that and say that it could not be SBI. Now, one of the reasons why I believe there's a possibility that it is not going to be created by SBI is the face sculpt. So while we can't get a super good look at how Henry Hustle's face actually looks, we can get a little bit of the drawing of it, and then there's a second drawing that you can kind of see more of the sculpt. And as you can see, he kind of has a demon-looking face. He has some sharp teeth, he has some creepy-looking eyes, and a very, very cool-looking sculpt. But to me, I think Henry Hustle shares a very, very similar sculpt face design to Lord Dakanavar, who you can actually see, where is he? Right there. I think this actually looks very, very similar to the sculpt used on Lord Dakanavar, and if you don't know, Lord Dakanavar was actually manufactured by YJ. So, is it possible that Henry Hustle will actually be manufactured by YJ against SBI? Now, to be honest, I actually hope he's manufactured by YJ, because it would be cool. YJ tends to have some better quality props, and I think it would be really, really cool to see YJ actually manufacturing Henry Hustle, because I think he'd be good quality. It would be kind of a turn-up and a fresh look at a clown, because they don't really make a lot of clowns, so it'd be kind of a fresh look on a clown. Now, there is one reason that people are saying that it could be an SBI, is because of the shoes. Now, I do agree with this. The shoes do kind of look like the SBI plastic clown shoes, but since this is just a drawing and a blue drawing that's used on a blueprint, it's kind of hard to tell if they are the plastic ones that SBI uses for like all their clowns, Uncle Charlie, Peekaboo Clown, the list goes on, Creepy Towering Clown, everything they use now, Crouchy. It's kind of hard to tell the material that they use for this because it is just a drawing, but it does sort of look like that same shape of the SBI plastic clown shoes. So I don't really know. At this point, I say it's kind of anyone's game. It could be a YJ prop just because of the face sculpt, and I hope it is, or it could be an SBI just because of the way the shoes are designed. Either way, I think Henry Hustle looks absolutely fantastic. I think this is such a unique design of a clown holding cards because we've never seen anything like that before. I think they're going for a kind of magician kind of clown, which again, we haven't seen anything like that, and he's definitely more unique than just a flat clown who really doesn't have anything to him. I'm really, really interested to see the color scheme that Henry Hustle has. I think his face sculpt looks really, really cool, and I can't wait to hear what his phrases are, because I think Henry Hustle is going to be a fantastic prop, and I think he might be one of my favorites for the 2021 Halloween season. Now let's take a look at the official blueprints from the countdown for Mr. Howell. So the second animatronic that was seen in the countdown graphic, and you could kind of be seen in the background, and we could see the name of it actually right on it without actually digging underneath the counter or anything like that. You could actually see the name right there, but just by going onto the Graveyard Shift page, was Mr. Howell. So I know Mr. Howell was creating a lot of excitement because a lot of people were getting very, very excited to see that a new werewolf animatronic really coming to Spirit for the 2021 season. Now, there's a lot of cool things about Mr. Howell, but I want to say this right now, honestly, as of this moment, I actually am more excited for Mr. Henry Hustle because I think he looks a little more unique, and I'm a bit more of a fan of him. But nonetheless, let's take a look at Mr. Howell. So, as you can see, Mr. Howell is a brand new werewolf, and I must say, he seems to be a big werewolf. Now, obviously, we've seen Limb Ripper, we've seen Wolf Spitter, we've seen, I'm trying to think here, I'm blanking out. We've seen them, Limb Ripper is the big one. And they're not always, like, they're life size, they're 6 foot, but they're not always big. From this brand new blueprint that you could see in the countdown from the Graveyard Shift page, it actually seems to be that Mr. Howell could be a kind of bigger werewolf, and maybe even a 7 foot kind of crouchy size werewolf, which I think would be absolutely fantastic, and I would love to see a werewolf that is big like Crouchy and is kind of menacing and scary, because I think that would be even cooler than just a life-size 6 foot one. Now, a lot of people mention this, and I actually mentioned this in my first video talking about the countdown and everything too, was that Mr. Howell, in this design at least, seems to be in a Hugs the Clown kind of position, standing straight up, his hands are forward, and he's kind of looking straight forward. Now, that was bringing up the debate on, will Mr. Howell be featuring a lunging forward motion, and will we be getting our first ever lunging werewolf? Now, I think that would be really cool, and if you add that to the fact that he could be the size of 7 foot and the same size as Crouchy, I think that would be even cooler to get a giant werewolf that lunges forward at people. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. Now, one of the interesting things about Mr. Howell that everyone was catching on to is that Mr. Howell is actually wearing a suit. So you can't really see it that well in the graphics that I created and that I pieced together from the pictures you could see in the blueprints. But Mr. Howell is actually wearing a tuxedo or some sort of suit. As you can see by the shirt he's wearing, it kind of seems to have some buttons that go right down the middle, and then he is wearing a formal set of pants. Now, I don't know what I think about this. I think this is kind of funny to see a werewolf that kind of has a tuxedo and he's formal looking. I think that's really funny to see that Spirit is going for that. Now, obviously, at this time, it's kind of hard to guess who will be manufacturing Mr. Howell. Now, with Henry Hustle, you can kind of tell it's either going to be YJ or SVI because SVI creates a lot of clowns, and he sort of has a YJ-looking sculpt. Mr. Howell, for me at least, is sort of hard to predict. I would say there's a chance he is an SVI prop because he sort of seems to be that SVI kind of look to him, and SVI has done werewolves before, like for Home Depot and Lowe's. So maybe we are getting an SVI, Mr. Howell from for Spirit. Maybe even Techie. I know Techie would be really strange, but Techie created Harvester, which you can see right there. And maybe Techie would create a werewolf, which would be a really, really cool thing. I have no idea. Honestly, if I had to make a bet, I would probably say SVI, but it is kind of hard to guess because we have only this kind of grainy looking photo. Now, I'll say this. It was really hard to piece together the picture of Mr. Howell, the ones that I'm showing you on the screen here, because you can only get like one photo of Mr. Howell from the countdown, and it's kind of blurry, and he gets cut off at the end of the page. So Henry Hustle has some really clear-looking photos that you can piece together. Mr. Howell is not like this. You kind of have to get really creative and raise the saturation to get a picture where you can actually see him really well, and that was the best I was able to do. The last thing I want to talk about for Mr. Howell is the size of his head. He seems to have like a really big werewolf head, which I think is really cool because you can actually see the chin seems to like come down onto his shirt, which is really, really cool. So he actually could be like a 7-foot werewolf with a really big head. And maybe I would love to see Mr. Howell feature LCD eyes. I think LCD eyes similar to Peekaboo Clown would be absolutely fantastic. Maybe some blinking eyes would be really, really cool. But obviously I have no idea. You can't really see anything like that in the blueprints. And obviously his name, Mr. Howell, is kind of unique. And especially since he's wearing like a formal outfit. I think that's why they named him Mr. Howell. Because he's sort of in a formal outfit. And that's why he's Mr. Because he's sort of formal. Which I think is also pretty funny. Either way, I think Mr. Howell is going to be a really, really cool prop for the 2021 season. I know a lot of people are going to like him. He's a brand new werewolf. He could be like the size of a 7-foot werewolf, which would be really, really cool. And maybe he's going to be like around $300 because Crouchy was $300 and he was 7 foot. So if Mr. Howell is 7 foot, I would probably say he's around $300. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see some further details on Mr. Howell. But either way, I'm very, very excited to see what his official demo videos and official stock photos look like because Mr. Howell is going to be an awesome prop for the Spirit Halloween 2021 season. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up my video breaking down the blueprints from the Spirit Halloween countdown for Mr. Howell and Henry Hustle. So let's cut to the outro. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up my video taking a look at and breaking down these brand new blueprints from the Spirit Halloween countdown for Henry Hustle and Mr. Howell. Again, I think these are two really, really cool and unique animatronics, and I think there's a reason Spirit put them in there where we could see them first on the countdown. I think Spirit knows these two animatronics are going to be some of the best for their 2021 season, and I think this is going to be really cool. At the moment, I probably have to say I'm more excited for Henry Hustle because I just think he's so unique. I can't wait to see his color scheme, and I love how he has another clown's head on his head, and how he has that deck of cards. I think is super unique. Again, Mr. Howell is also really, really cool because he could have some size to him. He's wearing a suit, which is kind of funny, and maybe he'll even have some LCD eyes, which I think would make him even cooler. Ladies and gentlemen, remember as always, for everything scary, I'm GMHaunts. As you guys head for more Spirit Halloween 2021 videos. Goodbye.